Están escuchando a Green Rapids Podcast con Erika y Nancy.
¿Y quién más?
Yo soy Adnoris Torres. Estoy aquí con ustedes. Me llaman Bo en la calle, pero mi nombre es Adnoris. Gracias por dejar que llegue de nuevo. La segunda vez que estamos haciendo este mensaje y que estamos recording. Gracias.
Yeah, thanks for coming back with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you for such a great introduction.
Good radio
Like,
voice.
will you just come in here every single time? Do the intro and be like, all right, peace.
Cada vez.
No, great. So, yeah.
So Bo is a community member that we work with a lot. He does work in a bunch of different kind of social justice sectors. Has been a great ally in our work, so we thought it'd be great to have him here in the studio. And because we love a little Spanish, we're going to be doing this one in Espanglish.
Espanglish, the national language of Puerto Rico.
I
Not
didn't-
Spanish, not English, Spanglish.
Así se hace. So why don't we start off with your main body of work? Dime de Padres Fuertes, de qué se trata eso, cómo empezaste y qué toma hacer ese tipo de trabajo.
Pues primero, yo soy una persona que siempre le ha encantado estar en comunidad, con gente, con el cuerpo del diáspora latine. So, me crié con la comunidad mexicana aquí en Michigan. Nosotros somos de Puerto Rico, la familia mía es de Mayagüez.
You can tell from your accent.
Thank you. I try. I get told my
No lo pierdas.
Puerto Rican accent is still very, very authentic. even
Well,
though
I was
it
going to say, what do you mean you try? It sounds like you're not trying at all.
just comes out.
It's
It is what it
so,
is.
it's effortless.
Pero sí, entré a este trabajo, era maestro en Detroit por muchos años y llegué a Grand Rapids para tratar y actualizar la educación de los padres de la comunidad, para que ellos tengan ese aspecto de la paternidad, de cómo es ser una persona en familia, cómo criar a sus niños, cómo advocar por ellos mismos y por la familia, por la pareja, como puedan. So just really an advocacy space, making sure that we are advancing that fatherhood role and those father figures in community.
First of all, I didn't know that you were a teacher. What did you teach?
I was a social studies and English teacher down in the city of Detroit. I did a lot of work in community workforce development work with young people.
Hell
So
yeah.
making sure that they had those great first experiences, differentiating, everybody says, well, I want to be professional. What does that mean?
Sí.
Right?
Hablamos
When-
de esto just like earlier this week with somebody else.
Mhm.
¿Qué significa ser
Exact
profesional?
line. She was like, I want to stop using this word. What does that even mean?
What
Who
does it
came
mean?
up with it?
If I'm
Yeah.
an artist and I am a aerosol paint artist and I wear jeans and a hoodie and I'm out in the street, I'm a professional in my field. If I am a person who works in an office space, or if I am a professional certified in whatever specific field, those are all professions and the work is what you do. So we try to differentiate that. A great organization called Urban Neighborhood Initiatives down in Springwells Village in Southwest Detroit. So aprendí mucho de los jóvenes con quien nosotros trabajábamos y siendo maestro, las historias. También trabajé para Michigan State por un rato. So Michigan State was great because it was a summer bridge program
Oh.
that worked with a ton, like hundreds of young people. They didn't have to matriculate into Michigan State.
Nice.
They could have gone into any university setting if they
Okay.
wanted to, right? But
Yeah.
it was exposing them to fields like construction site management, field turf, all of these agricultural fields and building fields
Yeah.
that were accessible that we don't really learn about, right? So it was a great experience. Pero desde eso, llegué a Grand Rapids para trabajar con los papás y ahora hago diferentes acciones en comunidad. Soy parte de Latino Community Coalition. Estoy en la mesa directiva de diferentes organizaciones, Camp Lodge, the Grand River Network, Steepletown Neighborhood Services, y también estoy bien activo en diferentes organizaciones que trabajan con papás, like the Dad's Count Coalition, MAPFI. There's a statewide collective called the Ed Trust Midwest, and there's the Michigan Partnership for Equity and Opportunity through that, advocating for early reading, literacy, English language learning, all of our differently abled, disabled students, making sure that they have access, making
Yeah.
sure that equity is not a bad word, making sure that we don't erase who they are and what they are, but making sure that they're really uplifted and amplified. So that's
Yeah.
what the Impeo group and Trust does. So just really, really lucky and blessed to be granted the opportunity to do this work.
Yeah, which
Y
is
para estar-
especially needed right now que estamos viendo la subida del fascismo aquí en este país, right? So it's like, you're doing the good work, so I appreciate that.
Y se tiene que decir en esa manera. No es un partido o otro partido, es el fascismo que estamos viendo creciendo en nuestras comunidades y el racismo bien directo. Like, this is the most blatant racism I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
And it affects the work that, we're talking about today when it comes to the environment and how it manifests itself, because people are very against science and very against the things that we know are affecting our world. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aún ahorita que estamos viendo like Trump defunding like the national, what is it called, authority on oceanic and climate stuff. Like a lot of science is being defunded and tossed to the side. Y nos quieren ignorantes, nos quieren tontos, nos quieren que no tengamos la habilidad de pensar y sentir todo lo que está pasando. So, yeah. I mean, it's great that we're in a space where we can call it what it is, which is the rise of fascism. And fascism is ultimately extractive of both like our people and our planet, right? So it's good to care for both things.
Yeah.
In past episodes, Erica and I have talked a lot about like women and how like the role that women play in the climate space because of these like so-called innate traits like being nurturers, being healers, all these things. But that's not to say that men don't also have those traits, right?
Absolutely.
Y me imagino que miras mucho de eso en tu trabajo en Padres Fuertes. ¿Cómo puedes conectar eso con like the climate movement at large? O ¿cómo crees que a los padres les puede hablar también del clima en una forma que ellos piensen de cómo impacta a sus hijos o sus familias?
el efecto directo, porque nosotros vemos que mucha de la gente que han estado en posiciones de poder, que pudieron cambiar, que pueden cambiar, son hombres.
Sí.
Y esa es la manera que el sistema de los Estados Unidos fue creado, right? So when we're talking about investment, when we're talking about growth of companies, a lot of it has been men. And men have to start to realize that they can and should change the ways that they engage. Bezos this week said he's donating his billions to climate and the future of the world. But what does that really look like? What is the tangible ways that they're doing this? So there needs to be way more digging into how it is and what it is that personas que tienen dinero actualizan su dinero.
Yeah.
So in the fatherhood role, we are the first teachers, right? Fathers and mothers, those first, even in utero, right? Reading to our children, reading them books about the environment, reading them about nature.
Your reactions to things, right?
Yep. How we engage with the world, how we engage with the natural world. All of those things are picked up.
Yeah.
My nephews, beautiful children who recycle, who understand climate. We were just talking about how climate change has affected them.
Yeah.
The tornadoes that happened in Southwest Michigan, in Kalamazoo specifically, they already see these changes. They already see the things that they could do. And they mention it often. So having those conversations early on, teniendo la paciencia para hablar con ellos del clima, para hablar de agua, que el agua es una de las maneras que nosotros podemos hablar con ellos desde el principio.
Yeah.
Lavándose las manos, apaga el faucet. Cuando estén en el baño, ¿qué pueden hacer diferente? So, cositas como esas, no dejen que esté corriendo el agua porque eso es, you're wasting water. So having those little conversations and those teachable moments are incredibly important. Those are some of the things that we talk about with our fathers.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm just going to step in and say this is why it's important that we also offer conversations like this in Spanish. It just opens the accessibility because like there are going to be certain terms, certain maybe ways of moving forward or ways that we need to educate our community that often, Latinos get left out of. I think that it's very easy to just assume that either somebody's going to be able to translate that for themselves or they're going to be able to understand that concept in the language that we're currently using. And so I just want to offer that too. Like, I think it's important that we broaden our capabilities, who we want to talk to about this, who we think is going to be responsible or can handle the responsibilities of making those changes.
Es verdad. Y aquí en Grand Rapids, como el señor Manuel Medina que falleció, ¿verdad? Él estaba haciendo mucho esfuerzo para que la gente latina de la comunidad de aquí, de Kent County, de Grand Rapids, los buzones de reciclaje, ¿verdad? que no boten la basura allí adentro, cómo tener diferentes cosas en los buzones, qué se puede poner, qué no se puede poner, la educación en español y en inglés. So recycling bins were a huge effort for the last couple of years to make sure that, we're not throwing things away, we're not, using them for the wrong way. So that's a small step, right, for the community. Pero se necesita más educación en más lenguajes, not just in Spanish. We have communities that are very rich.
Absolutely.
Southeast Asian,
Yep.
Asian,
Yep.
Central and West African,
Yep.
making sure that we have accessibility at all levels when it comes to not only the environment, but our educational systems. And they can use those methods from home to educate us. We have a very Western,
100%.
like
Yeah.
the
They
Western,
know what they're doing.
Exactly.
They've been knowing.
Being able to recycle glass, being able to utilize and reuse materials, being able to compost in ways that, it's tribal knowledge that people have
Yes.
that we don't uplift in the ways that we should. So working with the Latina community, seeing the ways that in our homes and in our communities, one of my favorite things, I was watching, this is like a short reel the other day. One young lady had one of those, I don't know what they're called, the big cups, like the huge cups.
Oh, Stanley's.
Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah.
The other one had an old Nescafe glass pitcher, and that was her water bottle. Kept water cooler. No leaching of the ingredients that are put into the Stanley Cups, right? So these are like things that we may take for granted that we don't see, but these are things that we've done for generations. We've recycled for generations. We may not have called it that, but that's what we do.
Yeah,
Or
it was
even just
reusing.
reusing things 100%. And it's because why throw something away? I think there's a lot of communities who just blatantly understand that. Like, we are not just going to purchase something and then throw it into the trash. We're going to repurpose this, or we're going to give it a full life.
Yeah.
Porque es de moda, ¿verdad? Si es de moda, tengo que tener la Stanley y esto que aquello, pero en verdad no se necesita. Usando las cosas diferentemente, teniendo una mentalidad diferente para las cosas que usamos en la vida de nosotros cada día.
Lo que me hace pensar de eso es que ya que muchas personas hispanas, like second gens, like my age, are getting to that, there's been like a mimification of a lot of the ways that we do that. Like, por ejemplo, los tins de galletas de butter cookies que siempre tienen las cosas de cocer. O, ¿cuál otro veo? Like, siempre hay, like, the butter container or something que tiene la salsa. Siempre se han reusado estas cosas y antes lo tomábamos like just for granted, pero siento ya que with globalization and social media, gente está realizando, esto no es normal, es algo de nuestra cultura, and it's getting mimified and like, but also like embraced and reclaimed too.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
That's beautiful.
Que te tenía que preguntar otra cosa, pero se me pasó. Te he oído hablar de de tus otros trabajos como de Steepletown and the Grand River Network. ¿Qué haces en Steepletown?
Sí, soy parte de la mesa directiva y trabajo con la organización para que cambiaron de liderazgo 2 años atrás, o este último año. Ahora tenemos un nuevo director, Emilio Samarripa, que es hermano mío de fraternidad, lo he conocido por décadas ahora, y es el nuevo director. Yo estaba en la mesa directiva, este es mi último año, pero fuimos por el cambio de liderazgo, buscando fondos, tratando de educar y advocar por los jóvenes de la comunidad, el trabajo para los jóvenes de la comunidad. Eso es lo que hago con Steepletown. Just a great organization, building on generations and decades of work when it comes to really advocating for young people of the global majority, making sure that they have jobs, training, GED, a lot of great resources through Steepletown Neighborhood Services. So
let's talk about that term you just used, global majority. I've heard you explain it before,
Sí.
but for listeners who may not have heard it before, ¿qué es global majority?
So, the global majority is us. When we look at it, again, from a Western perspective, si todito es América, 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 y en verdad América es Norteamérica, Centroamérica, Sudamérica. Los Estados Unidos tienen una manera de ponerse al frente de todito. En verdad, the United States is a very small part of this world.
Yeah.
So when we look at persons that are Black, Spanish-speaking, Southeast Asian, right? There are things that unite us, that make us greater. When we talk about minority from the United States perspective, it is this defaming and this removing of culture, and of
100%.
generations of culture.
100%.
We flip it and we use more of a positive frame to say we are part of the global majority. When we talk about who we are, right? All Puerto Ricans are made of, just from my perspective, and genetically, the three races. We have the Spanish influence from the colonial period. We have African ancestry. We have indigenous ancestry. And when we look at the broader global perspective, the travels that happened in the Caribbean by boat, right? We were connected to South America, to Central America. We didn't call it that. These were peoples of the Caribbean. These were the Tainos. These were the Carib Indians. So when we look at it in a frame of positivity versus the negativity of calling ourselves a minority, we're not lesser than.
Yeah.
So why use that language? I refuse to use that. I'm never a minority.
Yeah.
So
I
yo
don't
no soy menos
like the word.
No.
It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't feel like a good way to describe where I would fit in society. And so I like that reframing just because it's even, I remember being a kid and thinking like it just,
Yeah,
it
and almost
doesn't
even,
hit.
and I think even just saying minority almost implies too that you're outnumbered, and there's like some psychological effect to that too.
Yeah.
Look, the conspiracy theorist in me is like, there's a reason for language. There's a reason for it.
There
And so
absolutely
I
is.
do think even if you know, you can dig deep, and I think that could be seen as something that's silly, but it does have meaning. And yeah, words are very powerful.
And when we look at the world as a whole, right? And we're talking about climate and we're talking about resources. General Torres, right? Burkina Faso. And the things that he's done to remove Western influence from his country, one of the poorest countries in Africa. Reframing it and saying, no, we are the powerful. They have stripped our countries in Africa for generations.
Yeah.
See.
They frame us as being poor, but they take our resources, right? What we
Yeah.
just
They're
did,
not poor, they're exploited.
exploited. What the governmental thing that happened between Ukraine and the U.S. this
Yeah.
past week with removing of natural resources, right?
Yeah.
For military gain. So when we're looking at it around the world, if we are together, to your point, Erica, the minority shortens us. It makes us lesser than, and we can't let that happen. So it's a way to reframe. It's a way to use formative language. Something that when we talk to young people, when we reframe these words, and it's not a conspiracy. It's done for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
pero yeah, global majority, la mayoría mundial, para la gente de allá de afuera que sepan que no somos menos que nadie.
Man, you should coin that.
I didn't make it up. So I learned
know,
it. But
I
once
know,
you
I
learn
know.
something, it's really important.
Yeah.
We were talking that we were in California for a fatherhood conference, the International Fatherhood Conference. Dr. Rodriguez, amazing fellow Puerto Rican, short and energetic. I don't know. I think that runs with us. So just the way that he framed the whole conference, it's not about fatherhood here. It's about the global fatherhood impact. England, other countries in Europe, Southeast Asia, Oceania had a huge presence, right? Maybe because we were on the West Coast, but a huge presence of Oceania and Australia. People that see fatherhood with different lenses than we do here, and what are those roles and what are those things that we do and how those impacts from their cultural aspects. So it was great to learn, but that's one of those things that we amplified there is global majority and global majority persons, making sure that we're using language that is not going to be dismissive.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing to the global majority, which is it's also like calling us a minority is also just like mathematically inaccurate too.
Correct.
I remember when I was young, because I grew up en la iglesia, fundamentada cristiana todo. And había un misionero gringo que vino y dijo, oh, like en África fui yo y mi familia, y era gringo él. Y dice, oh, las minorías, es una ciudad que es la minority rate is 99%. And I was like, ¿cómo que minority rate is 99%?
Yeah.
You are the 1%. You are the minority. Like, it's goofy. And, like, again, it's that very USA-centric perspective of, like, I'm always a majority. Or, like, I'm always, like, the standard. Y es otra forma de practicar, like, othering, too. Esa separación. So, yeah, that's just always stuck with me. So, cuando dijiste global majority, la primera vez que te escuché el año pasado, I think it was like at one of the LCC events. I was just like mind blown. I was like, that's the word.
There it is.
That's it. So,
No,
gracias.
Poniendo en enfoque también que many times we'll say Western perspective. It's no longer Western perspective.
Yeah, right.
It is a very U.S. perspective.
Absolutely.
It's one country that has been allowed by the world to do some things that are completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
Unos dirían imperialismo.
eso es. Pero si lo dices así, como que se enfogona la gente de aquí. Y tienen que ver críticamente, tener esos lenses de perspectiva que dicen, ¿cómo nosotros hemos hecho esto para el resto del mundo? How have we really impacted the rest of the world? And we're really quick to condemn, or the U.S. has been really quick to condemn places like South Africa in the past, and China, right, for the things that have happened to the Uyghur population there. But yet we don't look inside. We don't look internally.
Yeah.
And we don't look at the damage that we're doing, right? Standing Rock as one of those places and those themes when we're talking about water rights, when we're talking about children, what we have done historically to our First Nations, our Native American communities,
Oh my God.
we don't frame it in that way,
Yeah.
right? And we otherize them and say, well, Native Americans are the minority. This is their country. This is their home. So we have to really acknowledge that and be cognizant of that. But if you say, oh, no, it's imperialistic, then people get all. Not us. When Puerto Rico's a colony.
Yeah.
¿Sabes? Las cosas así son bien graciosas para mí, pero tienen aspecto, there's a depth there that we have to look at.
Sí. And it is important to recognize our impact on what it looks like when somebody arrives to this country too, right? Me acuerdo que una vez oí a alguien que estaba diciendo que si vas a China y te sales, luego saliendo del avión vas a ver chinos. Si vas a Japón, si bajas del avión, japoneses. Pero en América, si vienes aquí y te bajas de un avión, ¿dónde está la gente indígena? Like, when you get off a plane, every time you go to a country, you see those people that are indigenous to that land. When you come to the United States and you get off a plane, you don't see the indigenous people of this land. They've been rendered invisible in many ways. So, eso me hizo pensar también de eso.
They're often very far from where you're going to go because they've been cornered into places that they didn't even really originate.
Yeah, swept under the rug sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
No, and I think this is an interesting perspective too, because I think what you're doing totally ties into the idea of dismantling the systems we're living in, which is like this growing fascist state, but going back to creating strong homes, going back to making sure that men feel empowered to being in these more nurturing positions, ultimately allows for us to have less of that power struggle when it comes to, men and women, when it comes to the folks who have been conventionally in power and the ones who would like to step into those spaces. So I think it just, without maybe even specifically doing even the race thing, it does help that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like it breaks down barriers when we can see ourselves in all sorts of those spaces. And I just don't think that, men have been seen in those spaces. I don't think that people of color have been seen in those spaces. And so just intentionally uplifting them creates the systemic change that will take a while to accomplish, but it's there if we make it relevant.
Yeah. One of the things that we're engaging in, the dad's cafes and parent cafes. I know UCC has done a few. Family Futures has done an amazing job of training community members in the dad's cafe model. And Ben Cannon from GRPS, shout out to him and the great partnership, allowing spaces for fathers, father figures, and men to be themselves and to open up. To your point, they almost don't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've been told that, you have to keep everything in. Your mental health is, I'm good.
Yeah. Provide for your family.
If you have a job.
Yeah,
and
right.
You're making it there. You work till you die and you were a good man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at it, opening up spaces in the schools, a great event that we had at one of the schools, Kent Hills. We had some fathers come in, amazing conversations. One of the fathers is a second generation dad, and their child that they're taking care of now came into the space, gave him a hug, felt comfortable with having him there, felt proud that dad is in the building, right? At another one of the schools, a father felt comfortable enough with us at the end of the conversation to cry.
Yeah, right.
And those are the moments
That's huge.
that we want to be able to have that. And it's not, having numbers. We've had 5 dads, we've had 10 dads. Smaller groups, great conversations that are impactful to make sure that they feel seen, heard, they can emote in a way that they're not allowed to emote with other men. And we make sure that we have those great spaces. But this is something that, we've been trying to work within the school frame, with GRPS, with other school systems around Kent County. Our program is Kent County wide. So from Sparta to the lower part of Kent.
Wow.
Making sure that we have these conversations around mental health. Last year, we did a lot of work with our mental health collective. You said Rebecca Span was here
Yeah.
in the room. Shout out to her.
Just days ago, she was in that seat
In
right there,
this
in
seat
this
right
exact
here.
seat.
Rebecca,
Yeah,
That very
you can
mic.
feel her.
honored to be in this seat too. So having these spaces and having these connections, we're removing silos for fathers. We're removing the dynamics that have existed for generations on what it means to be a man, quote unquote. Bringing it back to the way that this administration is behaving, removing pronouns, removing the personality, saying, no, there's only 2 genders in a way that's very demeaning and that is very wrong. So when we're looking at that and we can allow fathers to say that your sensitive side is a part of you.
Yeah.
You're all fluid beings.
Yeah.
You can't be
No es tu enemigo.
Yeah.
You don't get away from having emotions because you are born man, born woman, born whoever. We have the same make, just some things are different, but like in our hearts, like those emotions are telling us something. They're triggers, they're our intuitions, they're telling you like you're safe, you're not safe, like those are. That's why we have emotions. They're meant to tell us who we are.
Y al fin del día el poder está en aprendiendo y el reconocimiento de que somos ambos en esa situación.
Sí.
El poder que quieren en el gobierno, que quieren en diferentes estaciones o en espacios, es que si separan a la gente, si dicen, no, tú eres diferente de esta persona y así es, ellos tienen el poder. Cuando nosotros hacemos las cosas juntas, cuando vemos eso, que tenemos las emociones, que tenemos ese poder de estar juntos, de ser, yo te reconozco a ti como persona, ese es el poder verdadero. Pero ellos no quieren eso porque en sí, separando, tienen más poder arriba.
Sí.
Y la gente puede tener poder si reconocen eso, que somos humanos al principio, que no somos diferentes cosas o diferentes animales. Somos humanos primero. So.
Lo que eso me hace reflejar, no sé si has leído Adrienne Marie Brown, pero una de las cosas que ella habla es like the battle of the imagination. Y siento que en nuestra cultura, por las presiones de asimilación y de pues luchar en tratar de hacerla en encontrar éxito en un país que siempre ha sido antagonístico con nuestra gente. The imagination has defined what it means to be a man in a way that is divisive y que nos separa de, a los hombres de sus sentimientos o de sus lados más, por decir, suaves. And I think it's what you're doing is allowing for a different kind of man to be imagined and for that definition to be reinvented. Y siempre es una batalla de la imaginación. O sea, siempre es nuestra imaginación lo que nosotros queremos para nosotros mismos como the global majority, y lo que quieren los que están en poder ahorita.
Well, when you look all the way back, back to our indigenous populations, in Lakesh, and I think I talked about this, I talk a lot about this when I'm speaking about the work that we're doing with fathers, the mirror, the concept of I am you. If I harm you, I'm harming myself. And there's a beauty in that. And there's the concept of how do I treat others like you want to be treated. It's another way of saying that, but this is ancient, real education from our indigenous communities that people want to erase.
Yeah.
And they are doing their best to erase. But it's
we couldn't have
here.
got here without some form of respect for either each other or the spaces that we live in, or the roles that we are meant to play within our communities, or respect for nature. Like, we are seeing actually the opposite of respect play out in our world today. And that's why it kind of feels, I think, like it's crumbling a little bit. And to your point, I think almost, if you ask me, and I don't know everything, I think I do, but I don't. But if we go back to the way that people did things, indigenous people of the spaces that they came from, if we went back to respecting the way they did things, I think it could undo all of this pain that we're feeling right now. The othered feeling, the feeling that we don't have support, the feeling like we don't know where to go when things get confusing, not having a home to be in. Like those things were not a part of the world before we began to, be consumed by consumption.
Greed.
So yeah, it's greed. It 100% is. And this is something that many indigenous communities, no matter where you go across the world, don't do. And they don't do greed. And they don't do the take thing.
Yeah. They figured it out a long time ago.
They figured
right?
it, and then we fucked it up.
We fucked it up with consumerism,
We
with capitalism,
did.
with all the isms.
Colonialism.
Colonialism.
Yeah.
The benefits of abundance thinking.
Yeah.
Versus the scarcity mindset. So when you're pitting people against each other, you're saying you're not the same. We're going to put you in this little box over here. We're going to put you in this little box over here. This is the man box. We talk a lot about the man box.
Yeah.
When you're looking at abundance mind frame and you're utilizing, one of the greatest stories ever is the buffalo, right? The utilization of the buffalo hide, the buffalo meat, the buffalo skins, the tallow,
Los huesos,
The
las
bladder.
tripas,
the
todo.
bladder for water, the sinew for bows. So all of these things were utilized. Colonial mindset, scarcity mindset. How do we drive the buffalo into almost extinction?
Yeah.
How do we diminish the effects of that? How do we put people in these reservations because they can't roam freely because we want to utilize the farmland, right? And it's that me mentality versus the holistic mentality. And we're seeing that right now. And we have to be very, very conscious and call it all out because now there's no turning back. If we are not boisterous in our approach, if we're not demanding in our approach, we could be rounded up in the same ways and placed in places of harm. And we have to look at that.
And we're seeing that already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just for a little fact, since you brought up China and talking about like how we are quick to judge folks without really looking at our own actions. We have more incarcerated individuals than China, and we have a portion of their population. So when we really talk about, there's 300 million people in the United States, and there's billions of people in China. Like, you can't make those numbers up. We really have to like look internally, look at our systems, how we're treating each other.
Right.
How did we get here?
Yeah.
And who is most impacted by the systems that we're currently living in. And we know the truth to that. So I think, building up your communities is the best thing that you can do, because if and when the Trump train comes, we have people who are in their communities that are very strong and resistant and resilient to those types of behaviors. And so I cannot stress enough how important it is for us to be able to build each other up in this way, how important it is for you to have a position and a role in the community. I mean, having it be your career, I think it's a really beautiful thing, and it gives me a lot of hope.
The W.K. Kellogg and Steelcase Foundations put together an educational summit about a week ago, and I had the opportunity to sit with someone at our table, and they asked me, "What is your passion?"
Ooh.
And
Okay,
that's not a question that's asked often. And I smiled, and I said this. Being able to activate persons in a way that is positive, being able to walk alongside them, because we don't help anybody. A lot of our dads help me as much as I help them. We walk alongside each other.
Yeah.
We
There's
learn
some charity
things from
case.
each other.
Yep.
So when you ask about passion, whether it's education, whether it's activation, whether it's doing the work that LCC has been doing for years now, being able to mobilize and move in a different way now, to be able to amplify a lot of the causes that are happening, whether it be Palestine liberation, whether it be, Movimiento Cosecha and the great work that they're doing, it's amplification of those things that actually are grassroots, that are developed by community for community, and that we can amplify those in the spaces that we're in. So it's really powerful work. I'm really glad to be in Grand Rapids. I can call it home now. For a long time, it wasn't home.
¿Cuánto tiempo llevas aquí?
Yo llevo 8 años. en la ciudad de Grand Rapids. Y en verdad, como dicen en Puerto Rico, 6 años, porque esos primeros 2 años fue como que aprendiendo. So, ciudadano de la ciudad de Grand Rapids, 6 años.
Okay.
Ciudadano de Michigan desde 1986, de cuando
86.
llegamos de Puerto Rico.
¿Y qué edad tenías entonces?
9 años cuando llegamos acá.
Estabas chiquillo.
Ya, chiquito. So, llegamos acá y desde ahí, pero nunca perdí el aspecto puertorriqueño, pero sí, siendo ciudadano de Grand Rapids ahora y sintiéndome parte de esta ciudad, de esta comunidad, ha sido una cosa bien bonita. Tenemos gente aquí que dan de corazón completo y que quieren que mejoren las vidas de las personas de la comunidad. Pero también tenemos otra gente que, como en cualquier lugar, no quieren vernos a nosotros como personas de la mayoría mundial crecer.
Sí.
Y eso es una pena.
No sé por qué nos tienen miedo.
Porque es scarcity mindset.
You're right.
Si yo no tengo, ellos lo tienen.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole divide and the racial divide. We don't look at each other like the 1%. The Occupy movement, I think, is the closest that we've ever come to really acknowledging and seeing
Yeah.
that it's really a socio-economic divide.
This is a class thing. They're creating division within the same class of people, and they're using these little things that are different about us to make us feel othered.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
like
are
race, gender,
yes.
economic classes,
Yes.
political things that we think are political differences, but really we're on the same page. It's just sometimes
We are all the same.
You know?
And
Yep.
they're all in the administration currently. The 1% are right there.
No matter.
So
Imagine that.
look at that. But yeah, so it's really, it's amplifying that. I mean, when we look back at the Rainbow Push Coalition and the things that they were trying to do with environmental justice, with food security, with food justice, the Southern white working class folks that were a part of Rainbow Push, we have to amplify that because there was a time when the Black Panthers, the Brown Berets, the leaders in different communities, right? The Asian American communities and the work that they were doing in hand in hand with Cesar Chavez, right? The Filipino community and the Filipino farmers that were doing the work. We have to make sure that we amplify those persons too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we don't, we do a disjustice because that's when people feel alienated and left out and they feel drawn to this vitriol, this nonsense that's spoken by rich people that really don't care about them. So when we look at the farmers and we say, why are subsidies something that are given to them when farmers should be able to have their fields and have their farms and grow their product,
Yeah.
right? Why are we not taking care of the land better? Why are we not diversifying? Why are we not, using the best technology that we have? Michigan State University, proud Spartan, go green. Also a Wayne State Warrior, go gold, go white, all the colors. So,
Yes.
but when we think about all of the great technology that Michigan State has come up with for our farmers, they don't have the Wi-Fi technology to be able to implement some of it.
Right.
yeah.
Let's talk about
Like the rural
reality.
communities that need
Right.
access to these things.
They could be doing great things with, instead of using pesticides on a whole field, you could send a drone. That drone could look at a piece of the land, see where the blight is or see where the infestation is, and deal with it directly instead of
Shut
using massive amounts of pesticide, which hurt our people and our children, right?
No
Yeah.
kidding. Especially the people who are working on those farms.
But if we don't have Wi-Fi for that drone to
course.
be able to be up in the sky, to be able to do what it needs to do, right? So we're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
talking about those kinds of things that are common sense issues, that are common sense initiatives, right? When we talk about build the damn roads or whatever the hell that was,
Girl,
I'm telling you.
build
So,
some high-speed rail.
build some rail, and along those same pathways that you're laying down concrete, put a Wi-Fi line,
Yeah.
put a landline.
Look,
And the railroad tracks. I mean, in Los Angeles, I see this a lot where you'll see the highway where there's like, a northbound and a southbound, but then in the middle is a train tracks with the high speed train. And yeah.
Or better
It's
utilization
so
of that land
usable.
in the middle. Plant, I see in Kalamazoo,
yeah.
they're putting down flowers, like wildflowers.
Yep.
Oh, I
Right?
see. I saw
Instead
somewhere they're
of
putting
grass.
like sunflowers. Yeah.
Dale. Why not do that?
Yeah.
When we're talking about colony collapse for bees, we're not utilizing, and the
¿Y
schools
quién
have
quiere
this.
pasto?
No, nadie.
Eso es de
Nadie.
moda.
No. We could use it for so many other things.
Yeah.
We could grow crops,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to be imaginative and we have to be inclusive and we have to be able to
Ooh.
talk.
You know, I just thought about, the Lorax.
I speak for the trees.
Okay, yeah.
We love Laura.
He was
This
bald
is not.
hippie.
This is not shock me, but no. In the Lorax, they're talking about. They reach this point where people don't even know what plants look like anymore, right? And it's low key where we're heading. I mean, we have to put these things there on purpose. We have to make sure that they feel comfortable on purpose, whether or not that's indigenous people, whether or not that's native plants, whether or not that's animals that used to habitat in these spaces, that used to graze and roam. Like, we have to allow for the things of this planet to feel comfortable operating in the way that it needs to in order for us to really grow, restore, regenerate, and to get to the next level. And it does start with people. It starts with educating each other. It starts with giving each other resource. It starts with being a community for another person. Because we've learned the individualistic mindset is not getting us where we need to be.
No.
No.
It's drawing us farther apart.
It is drawing us farther apart.
And that's one of the things that I love about Camp Blodgett. Lucy Joswick is their executive director. I sit on their board.
First of all, what is Camp Blodgett?
Camp Blodgett is a camp here in West Michigan. The physical camp itself is situated in West Olive. Beautiful on the lake,
I like
right?
West Olive.
I think the Transformational Leadership Project had one of their graduations at Camp Blodgett.
Ooh, lit.
On the lake. Beautiful if you've never made it. But it gives opportunity for global majority children to have a camp going experience, to be around other people. And they have a scaled system of payment, right? So some kids go for free. Some kids pay a little bit. Some kids pay more if they're able to, right? My nephews will be going this year. I'm very proud of both.
Shout out.
They're going to be going out there and having a great time.
Oh, that's fun.
And we also affirm identity and difference.
Yeah.
We also affirm different ways of thinking, right? We amplify the fact that autism has been, again, villainized lately and recently. Use language that is completely inappropriate for persons that think differently.
Yeah,
right?
right,
What we
right.
do at Camp Blodgett is we make sure that children, young adults, have a safe space, a thriving space for growth
Yeah.
and the connection to the natural spaces, right? The connection to what's happening with rising waters on the lake shore
Yeah.
and seawalls and what we're seeing with erosion. Those are things that they see in real time.
And kids are intelligent enough for us to talk to them about these concepts.
Kids are intelligent, period.
Yes.
Many times their mind is so much more open than adults because we have our biases that we've developed over time.
Of course.
See.
The answers are with them. And when we give them the space to be, and we give them the space to speak, and we give them the space to roam, right? The
Yeah.
freedom to be themselves and to be little humans, the little humans that they are.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I love about them. So if you haven't heard about Camp Blodgett, go to campblodgett.com. Check us out. Really proud to be on that board as well.
Está abierto para adultos también.
Tienen eventos para adultos también. Durante el año tienen eventos archery, tienen una pared de climbing que se puede subir,
Oh,
se puede
cool.
rentar. Es un venue para bodas, es un venue para eventos. Hemos tenido diferentes actividades para organizaciones sin lucro, para que puedan estar juntos para hacer strategic planning. So el sitio está genial. Es un sitio bien bonito, natural. We have
You're saying all the
a
right words.
STEM program there as well. Just an amazing, amazing space here in West Michigan that I'm very
Wow.
proud to be a part of.
Is 32 too old to go to this camp?
No, we have adult stuff going on all the time.
Very
We have
cool.
archery days. So during the year, we have days where people can come to campus or to camp and spend a day and learn about what's going on. But you get to, do some archery. You get to do some robotics. We have a robotics class there as well. I
Wow.
got to play with the robots. That was funnest thing for me. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's super cool.
So,
But to your point, how many people don't have access to these things? How many people just won't ever just think about touching the robotics or think about archery or just different, it's exposure,
yes.
which is so important, especially for the global majority and that lives in the US. We often are othered from these spaces. This is exactly what we were talking to Rebecca about last time. Just making it something that anyone can do, no matter who you are. Again, no matter what your gender identity is or where you come from or what language you speak, like this is for you.
And we have access. If we think from a space of abundance, why shouldn't every child have that experience? I remember
Right.
when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, Battle Creek, Wilson Elementary School, which is no longer in existence because it got knocked down. Clear Lake Camp in Hickory Corners, Michigan. The Kellogg Biological Station is there. MSU Research Center is there. Beautiful spaces that people don't know about because they don't have the access. Battle Creek Public Schools gave me the opportunity, and that's kind of like one of the drivers. I wanted to be like the people that were helping to raise me.
Yeah.
Y eso es lo que estoy haciendo ahora, con este programa, con esta oportunidad, porque en sí no es un trabajo, es una oportunidad para trabajar con gente del pueblo. So, just to be able to do that, to walk in those same pathways, I just feel honored to be able to have some of those same opportunities that I saw in myself.
Yeah, this is something that I mentioned in our interview with Rebecca a couple days ago as well. But to me, it was also a little bit of a culture shock to see how people of color are not necessarily welcome to a lot of nature spaces. Se siente lo más al norte que vayas, like lo más antagonístico se siente. Hay más señas del el presidente que ya conocemos, infamoso. Y uno se siente como más vulnerable, que si algo mal me pasa aquí, ¿quién va a saber? Que si se me ponchara una llanta o algo, me daría temor ir a alguien y preguntarle por ayuda, porque sentiría que me caería más daño. So, since you have kind of been in other parts of Michigan, I'm just wondering how you've seen that access to nature for BIPOC folks kind of differ in different regions.
It's re-engaging with spaces that are ours.
Yeah.
So we're all indigenous,
Yeah.
Pues sí.
right? If we are of African heritage and lineage, the outside spaces were our spaces. If we're from the Caribbean, South America, Central America, all made up names, those are all outdoor spaces. So it's reclaiming that, and the people that are doing that in community, hats off to them because they're really amplifying, and it's a movement, right? It's a driver, but we're from there. So it's going back and saying, these are our spaces to become acclimated with.
Yeah.
The beautiful spaces, right? You go to Black Rocks up north, you go to Picture Rocks, and you say, wow. I have the
Next
opportunity.
level.
I drove through, a friend of mine, Juanita, was moving from Jersey to Houston. I had never driven through rural Georgia. Rural Georgia is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Sunrise through Georgia. The fields are beautiful. And I jokingly told her, I said, there's a reason they don't want us here because it's beautiful. And it's that scarcity mindset again.
Yeah.
Sí.
I want this for me.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that we've been taught about, the jokes that we've been, the things that we've seen about Appalachia, right? Beautiful people, beautiful country, beautiful spaces that, again, have been made a mockery of, made a joke of, right? Because they're not as affluent,
Yeah.
right?
Sí.
They may not go to the university. And many of them have college degrees, whatever. But this is the thing that we've been told as communities of like urban core communities that, oh no, those people there, they're dumb and they don't read and they don't do this, they don't do that. When in fact, right, they know more about the land. They know about
They can tell you what you can eat out here.
the natural spaces. Exactly.
They know what the sky is telling
They
them.
know what's up with the cryptids.
They know how to prepare for a winter. Could I last in the winter out there? I'm telling you right now, I'm the first one to go. And I'm the first one to complain about how hungry I am.
Yep.
Because we just don't know how to operate.
Es gracioso que tú dices de los cryptids, Nancy. Porque en esas historias hay como que threads of nature, right? Aparecen en este tiempo y aparecen en esta situación y aparecen en este sitio. the stories of Bigfoot, right? Those might have been bears that we're seeing, but they appear here during this time, and like the chupacabra in Puerto Rico. These are things that people that are there that are indigenous to those places understand the world around them, and they tell those stories to make sense of the world around them. So instead of saying, "Oh no, that's dumb," no, they're making sense of the world. It's a different kind of intelligence.
Yeah.
And separation is terrible because then we make fun of or we take advantage of, and that helps to further separate people when they have that. To your point again, what you can eat, that connection to the food source. To the fish in the streams, right? To the fowl.
Absolutely.
When you're killing something with your hands, right? I'm a meat eater. Meat saved my life. There's a whole story around that. But
I remember
Yeah.
this.
You told me that, it blew my mind.
meat-based formula.
Yep.
So I have a different connection to meat.
Still
but
puts an image in my brain when I think about
meat-based formula. Yeah, it's wild.
it
I
is.
tried to not think of like a licuado de carne
Yes,
molida.
it's like a liquid meat.
Eso es lo que es. Eso es lo que es.
Así.
Licuado de carne. Pero when you're out hunting, like many of these people have done for generations, right? There's a beauty in that if you're collecting,
Yeah.
if you're utilizing
Yeah.
the things that are around you. And we need it too, right? Like harvesting deer in Michigan is a thing that we need.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's too many.
Desesperadamente, sí.
So we have to make those connections, and we have to amplify the fact that the separation, the lack of knowledge, the fear of the natural spaces, which was your point,
Yeah.
reclaiming that and connecting. Cuando yo voy para Leelanau y cuando yo voy para the UP, yo me siento como si estuviera en casa. But I also have a privilege that other people don't. People don't villainize a light-skinned Puerto Rican like myself, right? With a beard and all that stuff,
Yeah.
as they do people of a darker complexion.
So I was going to say something. So I have not had the same experiences I think that some other people may have had, especially like I will call it black men in nature. I've gone to some of these spaces by myself. I also think because I grew up in Holland, I was very used to going on hikes. I was very used to, doing these things, and doing it alone was okay because like this is where I grew up. I've never felt like nature was not for me. I've never felt like this hike is not for me. I've never felt like this beach, this waterfront, this sport, this thing. And I think it's part of where I grew up, right? But I hear this experience come from so many different people. And one, I think it's incredibly unfortunate that we live in this like dangerous world for people of color. It's just not fair. But it is exposure. If you grew up in the woods, you know that the woods is for everybody. If you grew up doing these sports, you know that these sports are for everybody. If you grew up, with this lifestyle, you just can have a different understanding. So I think it is really, really important that we get our friends of color into nature. I think it's really important that we get children of color in nature, because it builds this sense of almost entitlement inside of you, where it's like, I can do this. Hell yeah. Tell me I can't go to Pictured Rocks right now. Tell me I can't jump off of this cliff, or that I can't do these things. And so I do want to name that. I think it's a privilege that I hold. I don't know if it's because I also make people feel comfortable. My identity is something that people can conceptualize. They see me, they get it, they picture my parents, and they're okay with it. So yeah, I do think that inside of me, I also feel that like I don't feel unsafe other than being a woman, maybe by myself at times. But otherwise, like, no, when nature is for everybody. The woods is for everybody. This shit was made for me and for you and for you and for you. And people should definitely reclaim those spaces.
Yeah. And when we're having these conversations, it's extremely important at least for me, to amplify that I do have that privilege, and that I do walk in a space that if I'm in the outdoor space and I see something happening to someone from the Black community or from our indigenous communities or our immigrant communities, having the privilege that I have, we have to bring it up.
Of course.
Right? So it's not going to be the same for me as it is for some of my people.
Of course.
And it needs to be more. So if we can go out into these spaces together,
Yes.
to diminish that, to all of the great points that you made, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you.
Another thing that I think of too when you were saying about just like rebuilding that confidence and being out in nature, I also think about the fact that a lot of times people are just like not exposed enough to nature to trust nature itself. Like, and if you go into the woods and all you're thinking about is like, a bear's gonna eat me, a wolf is gonna get me, like,
Yeah, right.
ticks
right,
are gonna,
right.
you know, like
Yeah.
then that creates this feeling of this trust in a space where that was our first home.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're just used to being in our little drywall timber boxes that we forgot what it's like to be outside.
And high key, they smell us from a mile away because we use all this product. So they're going to be
Same.
more afraid of us than we are of them.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm, in the wooded spaces, they're going to smell me. They're going to, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really understanding that, too. We can't be afraid of, Now, I do have to say this.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting more mountain lions, and I'm a little scared about that.
Oh, man.
I am.
There's only
snack
been
size,
like 3
you know what I mean?
sightings. We're fine.
No, but we just have to be cognizant, right? That when
Yeah.
we're going into these spaces, be careful,
Yeah.
be brave, and don't make it a big deal.
No, it's true though. I think there's like a knowledge. Like when I went out to some national parks, there was like the park people would walk around and just be like, hey, just want to let you know, like if you have food, you've got to keep it up and you've got to do these things. And there's people warning. But there's certain parks where I'm like, okay, I got to clock this knowledge because the next park I go to, someone might not be there to remind you that there are bears in this area and
Especially
you do
with
have
all
to
these
be
cuts.
safe, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with all these
Right?
cuts, okay?
I almost forgot about
So-
that.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
it's that knowledge that we need to make sure that we have out there.
Yeah.
Make sure that we're teaching other people that may not know as much as we do.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
So I feel like this is a good segue into a call for action. I'm going to go ahead and kind of assume that we're leaning again, like toward expose your people, right? Invite them to places. But is there something that you would like to see people be able to do without, that doesn't need too much direction, I guess, just something that they could maybe hop into, start to change a little bit?
We've been doing a lot of work. I also sit as the co-chair of the Grand River Network.
I wanted to hear more about that.
And that is a great way to be involved in the outdoor spaces
Mm-hmm.
without having to travel to, lead
Yeah.
on off.
Yeah.
So everything that's happening on the river, Return to the River every year, it's coming up. We have
Great festival.
the water festival that happens every year, the boat races that happen, all of these great events, the APA festivals that happen along the riverfront, all of the activations that are happening. Make sure you get involved in that. Make sure you ask questions.
Yeah.
The river is not something that belongs to the people that live downtown.
Yeah.
The river is something that, again, stretches for miles from the lake from Lake Michigan to Lake Erie.
It like from
Wait,
lake to
what?
lake.
Yeah.
The Grand River goes across the state,
It goes across the
It's
whole
got
state.
tributaries that connect in the
which are
Kalamazoo
connecting
River,
streams.
the Battle Creek
and-
River.
yep,
the-
mhm.
So all of these streams connect, right?
Uh-huh.
All of these greenways that happen across the state of Michigan, enjoy them. Go out. We are 20 minutes away. If you have a car, maybe a little longer if you don't have a car. But we're 20 minutes away by car from one of the greatest and most beautiful bodies of water in the world, right? Lake Michigan at sunset is one of the most beautiful things. It connected me back to Puerto Rico when I saw it for the first time because it felt like a playa, right? Shout out to Bad Bunny. Pero cuando nosotros estamos...
No, shout out to Bad Bunny. For real.
That's you're like, whew.
I have to
Just got
bring up
really
the
hot
man,
in
right?
Come on
But
now.
when he talks about la playa and when you get that feeling of the beach and when la cubita, que mira, que de quién es este amigo que está robándonos la cerveza y esto que aquello. The things that he talks about, we can recreate here in Michigan, which is the beauty of Michigan.
Say it.
When you go to Lake Michigan, when you go to all of the state parks, when you really invest in the infrastructure that we have right here, right? 6th Street Bridge. My nephews le encanta caminar por el puente porque ellos se sienten tan unidos al río, right? All the little locks and all those little things that we may take for granted that we live here in the city. Pero cuando ellos como niños lo ven, se enfocan en eso. So it's just really go, engage. The river is yours, right? You don't need anybody's permission. You don't need anybody's, to tell you to go.
Yeah.
It's there. It's for all communities. Reconnect with that, and that's right here. Walk along the river. Walk along the trails. Utilize all of the things that we have there.
Vayan a pescar, vayan
Dale.
en kayak. ¿Cómo se dice kayak en español?
Yo no sé, kayakeando.
¿Qué invento?
Just made up a word. I can do that.
No, but I think what you're getting at though is reclaim your space, right? Make yourself something that is comfortable for people to see in nature. Just reclaim it, make it yours. I think that's really, really powerful. Yeah, and as always, invite a friend.
Take
And
people with you.
take people with you, make it their space too.
Mm-hmm.
And
God.
fishing is cheap. Fishing is super cheap. You could just, have a good afternoon of zen and relaxation on the
Yeah.
fish ladder. I've seen some of the most beautiful fish lately. I have a friend, Abel, Abel, estás allá, si estás escuchando. But he throws up these beautiful pictures of fish from the Grand River, like salmon.
Cool.
And
¿Se pueden comer del río?
sí, el río es saludable. There are stations along the river that were put in a couple of years back. Shout out to Andy Guy, who's super proud of the metrics that we have for the river. But the river has grown in safety, right? This isn't the river from the 1970s that, people
It gave bad rep.
Yeah.
So
That
now
stuck with people up until this very moment.
it's those in the stories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Y aún lo están mejorando, que es lo
Sí.
bueno. Sí.
God, but even as you're saying this, you just said someone is constantly posting pictures about the salmon they catch in the Grand River. And Nancy's like, what? Like this is why it's important for us to talk about these things. It's why it's important for you to have a friend that
Para
you're
sacar
seeing
licencia.
catching these fish. So
Yeah.
that Nancy and I know that we can share that with our friends and family now.
And the fish are edible, y'all.
¿Me llevas a pescar?
I love
Vamos,
salmon.
Vamos.
Me encanta pescado, me encanta estar en la playa, me encanta estar en el río. I'm Pisces, so we're drawn to water anyway, and I'm an island person, so I will never move to a place that's landlocked. So, but when we can make those connections for the fathers, for the families, for the young people, right, that are going to the camp, when you make those connections at a very young age, I remember being a kid in Puerto Rico and being at the beach and cooking at the beach. And now that's one of the respites, right? When we talk
Que
about
vibra.
la vibra, nena, eso es lo que nosotros hacemos. When Rebecca was here, I'm sure she talked about self-care and mental health. To me, waves crashing on a beach is one of those soothing sounds, one of those like white noise. We talk about that. Pero el sentimiento que eso trae también cuando uno puede ir a la playa con la familia, eso es una belleza.
Con la brisa, el sol,
Eso.
Yeah, todo está bueno.
So
Ya
call
me
to
inspiraste.
action, get out, do the thing, bring a friend,
Go fishing.
and uplift your community.
There you go.
Take a friend outside.
Yeah, very
Force
nice.
them.
This has been great.
Yes,
Even I haven't
gracias.
understood half the conversation, but I have convinced myself all through the whole time that I know exactly what you're saying.
Y así es que la gente aprende. Cuando uno escucha durante el tiempo que uno practica, eso se le pega. Como nosotros decimos en Puerto Rico, se te pega. My nephew the other day, they're playing baseball now that it's hot. And he's sitting there, he's looking at my mom and I, and we're speaking in Spanish, Puerto Ricanese as I like to call it. And he's like very pensive, and he's paying attention. I ask him in Spanish, do you understand what we're saying? Risi, tú sabes español, ¿verdad? ¿Tú entiendes lo que nosotros estamos diciendo? He goes. So he shakes his head no. He understood
He
what I
understood
said.
what you were asking, but he didn't know how to answer it.
Right, he was like, no, tío,
No, but yeah,
you get it.
this is the part of being intuitive, you
Yeah.
guys. This is the part of being comfortable with the environment that we're in, right? Is that we know what's going on.
Celebrate
We
the
know.
differences.
I know when I'm at a salon what those women are saying. I know I do.
feel it. You
You
feel it.
feel it. So thank you so much for this conversation.
El chisme viene en muchos lenguajes y hay que amarlos todos.
Sí, sí. Y que la gente allá afuera que no tengan el temor, que no tengan miedo a las comunidades de el mundo, ¿verdad? La mayoría mundial no es una cosa que queremos ser más que nadie, no es una cosa que queremos estar diferenciados de la comunidad de acá. Es que necesitamos y queremos estar aquí, mejorar pues la comunidad, el sentimiento de cómo la gente se siente de las diferentes comunidades. Es bien importante que la gente no tenga miedo, que se junten, que hablen, que hagan todo lo posible para estar juntos en esta época. You can't live in this, separation and fear and nonsense. The beauty in the difference is what causes growth.
Yeah. Y el colonialismo nos ha hecho tratar de asimilarnos y hacernos todos igual, but we're not meant to be homogeneous. We're meant to be diverse and varied and interesting, just like igual como la biodiversidad es importante para la naturaleza, la diversidad cultural también es muy importante para la sociedad y los humanos.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Well, thanks, Bo. So great having you here.
Thank you for
And
having me.
it's great flexing my Los Angeles Chicano Spanish.
Girl, there was a
Chicana-
few moments where I'm like, Nancy's talking really fast right now, and I love it. It feels good. It feels good to let people be who they are.
And if you want more information, check us out, Strong Beginnings Kent.
Oh yeah, give
.org.
all the links.
Strong Dads GR on Facebook, Strong Dads GR on Facebook, Strong Dads GR on
In
Facebook.
case you missed it, it's Strong Dads GR on Facebook.
On
That's
Facebook?
right. That's where we are. So check us out. We have a newsletter that we put out monthly. We have Manhood Monday, which is something that we encourage, we amplify different organizations and different fathers in community. We really try to make it so that you see the differences, the beauty and the differences of fathering in all of its forms. Not just the pretty. It's not all about, having a polo on and smiling in a picture. There is some hurt, there is some pain, there are some things that we go through. But the ugly is the beauty as well.
Yeah.
So those differences and the things that happen, perfection is not attainable. It's something that it's always a work in progress. And we try to show that through all of our offerings. Check out Camp Blodgett. Go to the river, engage. Check out Steepletown. If you haven't checked out Steepletown, we have our taste coming up in June. So you can come to that and support the organization. But just amazing people doing amazing work. I really love
I'm glad
the
you're
work.
one of them.
Gracias por tenerme, gracias por el comentario. Y el trabajo que ustedes están haciendo es súper importante. Y me siento bien orgulloso de tenerlas a ustedes en la comunidad.